Time Warner Cable is pleased to be an underwriting sponsor for Carolina Week.
Coming up on the January 29th edition of Carolina Week, we follow a group of UNC students all the way to Washington as they protest the war.
I'm Carla Babb. I'll speak to Congressman David Price about what's happening on Capitol Hill.
In sports, women's basketball already topped Tennessee and UConn. Maryland was next on the hit list of the nation's elite.
Mallory Nichols will have your 4-day forecast.
Carolina Week starts right now.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Hello and welcome to the Monday edition of Carolina Week. I'm Kate Schoen.
And I'm Alex Villarreal. Thanks for joining us. Many people have strong opinions about the war in Iraq. On Saturday, some of them gathered in Washington to protest. Reporter Jaime Zea has the story.
How many kids did you kill today? People on my racks, under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back.
It's a complex issue, but we have to bring the troops home. We don't belong in Iraq. We don't belong in this war. We cannot solve the problems of the people there, and we need to pull out as soon as possible.
Tens of thousands of anti-war protesters descended on the nation's capital Saturday, calling for an immediate end to the war in Iraq. There were plenty of Tar Heels among them. The UNC chapter of Students for Democratic Societies brought 40 students to protest. In addition to taking its cause to Washington, the group has a plan at home as well.
We're organizing youth on campus and we're building a really strong movement to oppose this war, and it's not any longer that we're going to just stand by while this war is waged in our names.
Our country is pursuing a new strategy in Iraq, and I ask you to give it a chance to work. And I ask you to support our troops in the field and those on their way.
That's exactly what these protesters don't want. They think any escalation is a mistake and hope the Congress, now controlled by Democrats, will listen to what they have to say.
We want money for education and jobs, not for war and occupation.
Reporting from Washington, D.C., Jaime Zea, Carolina Week.
Many of the organizers of Saturday's protest are calling for a national day of protest on February 17th. Some UNC voices rang out in Washington Saturday, but there are other voices to be heard. Many students on campus still support the war. Some students even say anti-war protests are misguided and sometimes very personal.
March on Washington, and a lot of the attacks are at Bush. It's not at Congress, because you have to remember that it was Democrats and Republicans both wanted to go to war.
Well, Iraq has certainly been on all of our minds lately, and especially on the minds of our elected representatives. Reporter Carla Babb is in the studio to tell us about her meeting with Chapel Hill's Congressman David Price. So, Carla, what did Congressman Price have to say?
Kate, Congressman Price is the recently elected chairman of the Homeland Security Appropriations Committee. This is a huge job, and he'll oversee a large budget. Price will be working with a lot of money. And not just the amounts of money you and I see every day. Price will be funding the 22 agencies that came together in 2002 to form the Department of Homeland Security. But Price says he has a plan to manage all this bureaucracy.
So we're going to start out with hearings about the department-wide functioning issues, some of the managerial issues, some of the financial questions about management, and then we'll quickly go into the Coast Guard, the Customs Agency, Immigration, Transportation Security, FEMA, Emergency Management, just that full range of functions. So we're going to have a very busy spring.
Price's Appropriation Committee has many responsibilities. However, he's most passionate about immigration issues.
We need comprehensive immigration reform. And I'm not the one who's going to be presiding over that. This is not my subcommittee's jurisdiction, but it certainly is something that I'm interested in and going to be involved in. Yes, we need to protect our borders, we need to enforce the laws, but we also need policy that works in terms of our labor market needs. So we're going to need a guest worker program, I think, and we're going to need some way for people who have been here a long time on a case-by-case basis, who have proved their worth, to work toward legal status.
Do you have any sort of plan for immigration, and how are you going to focus that in North Carolina?
Well, my subcommittee's focus on immigration is on funding the immigration agencies, and we will pay attention to the need for a modernization of the immigration agencies, for good information systems, for adequate local offices, and that's, of course, very pertinent because we are going to get a new immigration office in North Carolina, in Raleigh.
The new Raleigh office will be very convenient. When it's completed, people won't have to go to Charlotte or Atlanta, the two current immigration offices now closest to the Triangle.
Thank the gentleman for yielding.
Aside from our state's needs, Price also wants the House to reform Iraq war policies.
This has been a serious foreign policy misadventure. I've insisted for a long time that the President owes us an exit strategy, owes us and the world a declaration that we don't have permanent military designs on Iraq, and owes us a plan for drawing down our troops and turning Iraq over to the Iraqis to defend and govern themselves.
Price says although Congress can't micromanage a war, members do have the responsibility and authority to hold the president accountable.
So then, Carla, what could that mean in the future?
Well, Price says it might mean attaching some conditions to future funding. And he says it will certainly mean oversight and investigations of what's wrong in Iraq.
Thanks, Carla. Carolina Week will stay in touch with our national representatives and give you updates throughout the semester.
A clinical professor at UNC is facing indecency charges in Atlanta. Police arrested Dr. Hugh Tilson earlier this month in the Atlanta airport. Police say Tilson was masturbating in the restroom while watching other men urinate. Tilson has won multiple awards for his work at the School of Public Health. He's due in court next month.
Carolina students are facing yet another tuition increase. The Board of Trustees approved the hike late last week. Here are the details. In-state students will pay $250 more. Out-of-state students, $1,250. And graduate students, $500. The tuition hike will generate nearly $6 million next year, with 64% of that going to faculty salaries and most of the rest going to student aid. The UNC System Board of Governors has to give final approval for the hike to go into effect. The UNC admissions office is still feeling the sting of a major mistake last week. The university accidentally notified 2,700 high school seniors that they'd been accepted to UNC. Admissions hadn't even reviewed those applications yet. Director of Undergraduate Admissions, Stephen Farmer, explains the error.
But in effect, what happened is that we sent an email that we'd intended for first deadline students who'd already been admitted to second deadline students whose applications hadn't been reviewed yet. Right. So as you can imagine, when this message went out to students, they were confused. Some of them were disappointed.
Staff members noticed the problem right away and killed the email, but not before it reached nearly a third of the intended recipients. The admissions office immediately released a statement apologizing for the mistake.
As their college careers come to an end, some UNC seniors want to make sure they get all they can out of the party life. Students lined up outside Players for senior night on Thursday. They came to enjoy the start of their final semester. Besides bonding, the students also raised money for a good cause. All proceeds from the cover charge went to Habitat for Humanity. Senior class president Meg Peterson says the goal was to bring seniors together.
Cohesion between the senior class. As the last semester of college, we just want to have something fun, something all the seniors can come out to and have a great time.
The night kicked off a series of senior events. The upcoming events will include an alumni networking night, a financial planning seminar, and a 100 days left until graduation celebration.
Well, with all that partying, it's usually the seniors who miss class.
But one junior's head is still spinning from his early semester trip around the globe.
I'll have his story coming up.
Hey, I was checking you out, and I was thinking, how about you come out to my car and we can have a couple beers, fool around a little bit. You know, I could give you herpes.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great.
MADD, face the brutal truth about underage drinking.
victory. You looking good.
The odds of a child becoming a professional athlete are 1 in 16,000. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism, 1 in 166. The odds say it's time to listen. To learn the signs of autism, visit autismspeaks.org.
A couple of weeks ago, we told you about a UNC student who was packing up to go to Sudan. Now he's back, and he sat down with Carolina Week's Adam Rue to chat about some things that surprised him.
Chris Music still has a suitcase and dirty laundry on his floor, and he needs to catch up with schoolwork after he spent 9 days in Sudan as part of a church mission project.
So we went to go see the buildings that already exist and the people who work there and who direct that, and then also the new land that we're going to buy.
The land is for a women's center, school, and other projects, and his church is committing $2 million to the mission. Music says his group attracted a lot of attention.
When they found out you were American, that just piqued their interest in you even more. They were wondering why you were there.
Music and other church members spent their entire time in Sudan around the capital city of Khartoum, well away from the violence that plagues the southern region of Darfur.
And I don't think I felt in danger at any point of the trip.
Because he felt safe, Music says he was able to notice the differences and similarities between us and the Sudanese.
I think everyone there I saw had a cell phone, whether they had a car and lived in a house or had a mule and lived in the mud huts. They all carried cell phones.
But there are some parts of American life that haven't made it to Sudan, and Music says he's glad to have them back.
Well, real toilets were nice to get back to, and some good American food.
Music did bring back his share of souvenirs and a desire to go back to Sudan if he gets the chance. In Chapel Hill, I'm Adam Rue, Carolina Week.
Music says that if that chance does come along, he'll want to stay in Sudan for a much longer period of time.
One student group is trying to make UNC a more global campus. Students Working Internationally to Nurture Growth, or SWING, is building a global networking database for Carolina students and alums. UNC has the highest study abroad rate of any public university, and now these students can be resources for each other. SWING helps students study, work, research, or volunteer abroad. The group is planning a summer opportunities event for mid-February. If you're planning to travel abroad, you're going to need a passport, but be aware of some new rules. The Western Hemisphere Travel Initiative will now require U.S. citizens to have a passport when they re-enter the country from Mexico, Canada, South America, the Caribbean, and Bermuda. Passport applications typically take 4 to 6 weeks to process, so if you're planning to travel for spring break, apply now. You can apply at the Chapel Hill Post Office. Bring 2 passport-sized photos, a certified copy of your birth certificate, a valid photo ID, and the $60 processing fee.
Marijuana isn't the only plant students are smoking to get high. A legal drug called salvia also appeals to thrill seekers. The psychotropic plant provides a different kind of high with prominent side effects. The U.S. Department of Justice says those effects include hallucinations and overlapping realities. UNC sophomore Philip Emanuel explains just how strong salvia can be.
The best comparison I can make is to Chronicles of Narnia. You walk in the wardrobe, you grow old, you come out, and then you're a kid again. Like, imagine that happening to you from smoking salvia.
Many states have proposed legislation to outlaw salvia, but the drug remains legal in every state except Louisiana.
There are certain precautions we all take when it gets cold outside, but here's one you wouldn't expect. Bundle up your laptop just to keep it running. Laptops are everywhere on UNC's campus, even outside in students' cars. But did you know temperatures below 50 degrees can damage your computer? Information Technology Services says if you leave your laptop in the cold, be sure it's at room temperature and dry before you turn it on.
College students usually have to hunt for ways to save money, but now a new website gives us an easy way to find deals. TarDeals.com features daily specials and coupons for Chapel Hill restaurants and bars. Students can print the coupons straight from the website. With a coupon, this Cosmic Cantina burrito will cost you $5 instead of $6. TarDeals.com also provides information about the featured restaurants.
When you ask little girls what they want to be when they grow up, they might say a princess, an astronaut, or maybe even Hillary Duff. The UNC Association of Nursing Students, however, hopes some will say a nurse. The ANS invited more than 70 local Girl Scouts to participate in its first Tar Heel Explorations Day. Here's the favorite interactive exhibit. Stan the Man is a patient simulator nursing students use to learn what to do in emergencies. Event coordinator Kelly Crockett says there's an immediate payoff for the Scouts.
And at the end of the day, if all the girls complete all the rotations, they'll be getting their badges. So they're all pretty excited about that. I think that's the highlight of the day.
The ANS hopes to have more events like Tar Heel Explorations Day in the future to give young people a better idea of what nursing is like. Well, we now welcome our weathercaster, Mallory Nichols. Hi, Mallory.
Hi. How's it going, Mallory? So I have to say, it was really hard for me to get out of bed this morning. It was so cold outside. Is it going to last all week?
It is. I don't see much of a break in the cold temperatures as far as the rest of the week is concerned. Signs of winter cold are popping up everywhere. Coming up, a change in temperatures that will be anything but steamy and might even blow you away.
I helped turn my child's public school into one with extended hours, 6 days a week year-round, filled with loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One with medical and dental services right there. A school where students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. Turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how. Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
Tick, 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 tick. Massive heat waves. Heat waves. Severe droughts. Tick, 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 tick. Devastating hurricanes. Tick, 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 tick. Our future is up to you. Tick. Go to fightglobalwarming.com while there's still time.
Hi, welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm weather forecaster Mallory Nichols. The bitter cold temperatures you've seen for the majority of Monday is going to stay with us and possibly get worse as we move into Monday night and Tuesday morning. So expect cold weather for the rest of tonight and tomorrow morning. Although those temperatures will be cold, we'll be still seeing sunny skies with hardly any clouds for much of Tuesday and Wednesday. But then as we move into Thursday, there is a chance for some wintry mix as some moisture moves into our area, and the cold temperatures mixing with that moisture could cause some possible snow or freezing rain for Thursday or Friday. If we go to the U.S. satellite and radar, you'll see that the low pressure system that we were affected by yesterday has now moved off the coast, leaving us with completely clear skies over much of the eastern coast, but mostly the whole North Carolina. You'll see up here we have another low pressure system that's associated with rain that could possibly affect our area, but for the most part that's probably going to stay to the north of us. And then as we look down here over Texas, we have another area of low pressure system that's going to start to move east as well, and this could be the cause for the snow or freezing rain at the later part of the week. If we go to if we take a close-up of the radar, you'll see absolutely no clouds in our area right now, which will the decrease in the blanket of clouds for North Carolina tonight will cause the temperatures to get down into the lower 20s, possibly the teens. So if you have to go out tonight, make sure you bundle up because the temperatures will be cold. If we go to the surface map, you'll see there's no low pressure system over that affected us yesterday. It's moved out off the eastern coast, but we do have this other low pressure system that's going to start to move into our area, and ahead of it, come Tuesday afternoon, our temperatures will increase slightly with the winds coming from the south for the most part on Tuesday, but then the later part on Tuesday, you'll see that cold weather will start to affect us, so the temperatures will then again drop come Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. And then on Wednesday, you'll see that cold weather has moved through us, but we also have this low pressure system down south right now over the Gulf. That's going to begin to move north, and then that will affect us come Thursday and possibly bring us that snow or freezing rain come Thursday evening and Friday morning. If we go to the 4-day forecast, You'll see there's a bit of an up and down in the temperatures. You have for Tuesday mostly sunny skies with the high in the upper 40s as compared to the lower 40s we have been experiencing, with the low down into the lower 22s. Wednesday, the temperatures will drop again as that cold front moves through, lower 40s for the high, and then mid-20s for the low. Thursday's the day we're the most concerned with. We have a bit of a wintry mix possibility, with the lows being down in the 26 and the highs being in the mid-40s. We need to make sure that we keep an eye on that as well. And Friday, you see there's a bit of a chance of rain for there as well, with the highs being close to 50 back up again and the lows being in the mid-30s. So for the most part of this week, the beginning will be pretty nice, but as we move to the later part, it's going to look pretty bad.
Yeah, it looks like we should actually soak up the sun right now, even though it's really cold outside, because the later part of the week is going to be pretty nasty.
Yep,
Thank you, Mallory.
Well, sportscaster Brandon Curry joins us now. Brandon, is anyone going to be able to stop that women's team?
That is the question everyone in the country wants to know. And the way they've been playing, I don't think anyone can. But coming up in sports, Maryland fans might have been hoping Carolina would fear the Turtle, but UNC proved the Tar Heels are the real team to fear. Is the big win and preview to the national championship?
Why do I call it a funny bone? Why can't penguins fly? Like a sea safety. Can we go to the moon on vacation?
If you think it's tough answering these questions, imagine the ones you'll get if your child is diagnosed with cancer. CureSearch.org can help. It's run by doctors and scientists whose research has led to an overall cure rate of 78%. You're not as alone as you feel.
Un día en el bosque las ratas jugaban. Escucha Smokey antes de tratar.
Solo tú.
No juegues con fósforos, no juegues con fuego. Fuego. No hay nada perdurable como asustar a un pobre ratón sin casa en que vivir. Si un hermoso bosque es lo que deseas, no juegues con fósforos, no juegues con fuego.
Solo tú puedes prevenir los fuegos en áreas naturales.
¡Fuego!
Welcome to Carolina Week Sports. I'm Brandon Curry. You've heard the story about the tortoise and the hare, and let me tell you about the turtle and the Tar Heel. Meet me over at Camp 2. As the women's basketball team dejectedly flew home from last year's women's Final Four in Boston, a chance for sweet revenge against the team that knocked them out, the Maryland Terrapins, was all that was on the Heels' mind. Their largest crowd ever for an ACC women's basketball game. A few Heels were able to make it out. The first points of the night belonged to Shea Duran with this three-pointer right here, a lead the Terrapins could not hold. Ivory Latta answers the call from a different area code, puts in the three, season-high 32 points on that night. She's happy, Tar Heel fans are happy. Maryland's coach is not, sharing a few choice words with some officials. Maryland could not stop Latta, again putting in a three, tasting the sweet redemption after last year's tournament loss. Towards the end of the game, the Terps cut Carolina's lead. Duran here putting more points on the board. Here she is again, making this jumper look too easy. But they had no answer for Camille Little, who despite an injury scored 17 points. Heels win 84-71. Coach Hatchell praised Little and the other seniors.
They wanted it. They wanted it badly too. Camille's tough. I mean, she wasn't going to, even though she was hurt, she wasn't going to come out of there because it just meant that much. And we talked about playing with a lot of heart, and they showed the whole country a lot of heart last night.
Now, the men's team isn't as undefeated like the ladies are, but the guys are still doing pretty well. After a big out-of-conference win against Arizona on Saturday, the Heels are 19-2, ranked 4th in the country, and perhaps most important, 2nd in the all-important RPI power ratings. Carolina returns to action Wednesday against Miami. Friday, the Wahoos of UVA came to Carmichael Auditorium for a little mat action. 3 different Carolina wrestlers were able to rally and help seal the win against the ACC rival. It was not one of the more exciting meets of the year, but a win is a win. There's some very close matches. This one, Carolina has been going down game 2 against it. This one, UVA barely escapes a pin, getting saved by the buzzer. The match of the night, though, belonged to this guy, Mike Rappo. He beat his opponent in an overtime victory, earning a UNC lead it would not relinquish. And moving from one Virginia opponent to another, the wrestling team faced Virginia Tech on Saturday in their last home match of the year. It was senior day for Spencer Nadolski here with his mom. Now that is adorable. Nadolski made a huge contribution with this major decision in the heavyweight bout. Then freshman Ben Fiacco wraps his leg around this guy for the takedown. Now tied up at 9, another freshman, Dennis Drury, picks up this pin to give the Heels a big lead. They go on to win and are now 3-1 in the ACC. This weekend, Carolina's track and field teams hosted the UNC Fast Times Meet, a 2-day indoor event. On the first day, one Carolina star shined brighter than the rest. Freshman Callie Pointinger outran all the other competitors in the 400-meter dash with a time of 56.19 seconds. After day one, Carolina took 2 events. Moving on to Saturday, it was a day of firsts for the Tar Heel track team. The Heels captured 7 event titles. Check out Edward Baldwin III. The freshman soared 20 feet 11 inches, earning his first collegiate long jump title. In addition, Ian Reynolds placed 3rd in the shot put, while Tyra Johnson sped away with a 2nd place finish in the women's 60-meter dash. The men's and women's swimming and diving team had their last dual meet of the season on Saturday morning against the Maryland Terrapins. And this was the final dual meet for head coach Frank Comfort right here, who's coached the Heels for 30 years. The Heels wanted to send him out a winner, and that's exactly what they did. Carolina took first place in 28 out of 32 swimming and diving events. What a way to end their last home meet. The Tar Heel men swept the Terps 204-90, and the women won 205-83. Comfort has won more dual meets than any other coach in college swimming history. And I'm going to take it back to women's basketball real quick. Ivory Latta has been named ACC Player of the Week.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you, Brandon.
Well, have you ever wondered if that button at the crosswalk really works?
And maybe you're just pushing it just because it's there. Well, we put those buttons to the test, and what we found might surprise you.
Excuse me. I've been getting mixed messages about women and violence. I need a little clarification.
Uncle Bill, how am I supposed to grow up to respect women when I have such lousy role models?
Boys are never going to approach you.
Can you help me reshape my attitudes towards women?
You need to teach them that violence against women is wrong.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at carolinaweek.org. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNCCH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.
Many students cross Franklin Street every day without thinking about whether the push-to-walk button really works.
Well, Carolina Week's Brendan Anderson set out to answer that question.
This button every day before crossing the street. But does the push-to-walk button actually work? I chose 2 locations on campus to find out if pressing the buttons actually changed the light cycle. First stop, the busy crosswalk on Franklin Street. First, I timed out the normal light cycle without pressing the button. Then I pressed the push-to-walk button and timed the cycle again. The result? Pressing the button actually sped up the light cycle 1 minute. The button works on Franklin, but what about Cameron?
I timed the light cycle here, and it normally lasts for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Now, I pressed the button exactly 1 minute and 25 seconds ago, but as you can see, the light still hasn't changed.
The push-to-walk button on Franklin works, but the one on Cameron does not. I asked some passing students about their button usage.
Do you ever use the push-to-walk button?
No, never.
Actually, almost never.
Very rarely. Normally, I'll just kind of wait to walk. Don't usually push it.
I don't really know because I know when the light is green when I should go. I guess maybe just out of habit, but it doesn't really work so well, at least not at this intersection.
They must already know what I just found out. Pressing the button works at some intersections, but not others. Before you press the button wherever you are, remember that push to walk really means hit or miss. In Chapel Hill, I'm Brendan Anderson, Carolina Week.
Well, that does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching. Good night.